Greetings, Illumineers, and welcome to another installment of Rules You'll Get Wrong, Fabled Edition. This is a particularly unique opportunity for looking at rules. Not only do we have some new cards to look at, but Fabled is a special set, different from most others because it's taking us through our first rotation. If you don't know what that is, I made a recent video of that, check it out in the link below. But importantly, old cards reprinted or graduated into Core Constructed give us a great opportunity to revisit and look back on some old or forgotten cards and interactions, as well as check in on some updated revisions. We have plenty of stuff to get to, new and old, but I wanted to start off with one huge change in rules text that completely alters how one returning card operates, making it do what it was originally supposed to do all along. Number 1, Moana of Motunui. For anyone playing during the first chapter, we all remember the excitement and then disappointment in finding out how the original wording of this card actually worked. Her original card originally had the text, "We can fix it," which reads, "Whenever this character quests, you may ready your other princess characters, period. They can't quest for the rest of this turn." The issue comes from the separation of clauses. There are two separate clauses that reference each other. For example, the first clause references all of your princess characters, whether they were exerted or not. And all of those princess characters, you can choose whether to ready them or not. However, because of the templating of this and the second part, the "they" is referring to all of your princess characters, not just the exerted ones that you had readied. So let's say that we have 2 copies of Moana out and you quest with the first one. Whether or not you choose to ready your other Moana, who is a princess type character, the second clause still applies, and then you can't quest with the second copy. Lots of people were really sad about that. But the fact that this got updated with an errata text in Fabled shows that the intention did not necessarily line up with the way those original rules text were printed. So now it works the way that you should. The updated printing from Fabled has the same character ability, "We can fix it," but this time it reads, "Whenever this character quests, you may ready your other exerted princess characters. If you do, they cannot quest for the rest of this turn." The 2 important and key changes are the inclusion of the word exerted before princess characters and the intervening "if you do" phrase. First, adding the word exerted separates any readied princesses from being affected by the can't quest part, because those are not included in the "they" designation, which now only refers to your exerted princesses. And second, the "if you do" means that princesses in general are only prevented from questing if they were readied with this ability. Effectively, the text was updated to reflect what I can only imagine was the original intention of the card, as opposed to one that literally bricks itself if you have more than 1 copy out. Okay, now let's look at some new stuff. Number 2. Powerline Musical Superstar. This Powerline Glimmer has the ability Electric Move, which reads, "If you've played a song this turn, this character gains Rush this turn." The tricky part comes from whether or not Powerline was in play when a previous song was played. If Powerline is already out, it's pretty straightforward. He sees a song being played and then gains Rush. This is clear because his electric ability does not contain the text "when you play," it just says "if you played a song." So the ability is constantly checking whether or not a song has been played. However, what if you played a song before Powerline is out? Does he see that? I actually had a hard time looking for support in the comprehensive rules, and if you have that specific citing, please comment that below. But luckily, Kyle at Ravensburger did confirm that, due to the way it's worded, Powerline's ability is able to see previously played songs. So that means if you had previously played a song this turn, either in full ink cost or by singing, this Powerline would have seen it and would enter, having Rush. Number 3, Ursula Voice Stealer. This is a really cool effect. Ursula has the ability Sing for Me, which reads, "When you play this character, exert chosen opposing ready character. Then you may play a song with cost equal to or less than the exerted character's cost for free." There's a couple of things here. First, it may look like it follows the A then B clause described in 7123, but there's a very important period right after the words opposing ready character in the first clause. As per 711, each clause of a card is a separate effect and/or cost. Each clause is separated by a period. So the second sentence, beginning with, "Then you may play a song," directly references the exerted character from the first clause. It would be impossible to resolve the second part without doing the first part. What that means is you cannot get the effect of playing a song for free without exerting a readied character. So no choosing any already exerted characters. This is different from effects like Elsa Spirit of Winter's Deep Freeze ability, which both exerts and prevents the readying of up to 2 characters. Because Deep Freeze's first ability doesn't require that the character be ready, you can choose an exerted character and the second clause would apply to it, since it was one of the they referring to the chosen characters in the first part of the ability. All right, second has to do with songs and singers. Let's say my opponent has a ready Max Goof Rockin' Teen, which is a character that costs 3 but has singer 5, allowing him to sing songs up to cost 5, despite only costing 3 himself. If I use Ursula Voice Stealer and choose Max with her Sing For Me ability, can I play a song with cost 5 for free? Well, unfortunately, the answer is no, and it has to do with the way the card is worded. Now, thematically, this is Ursula using the character's voice to sing the song, but mechanically, Max is not the Glimmer singing the song. It's Ursula's ability that's doing the heavy lifting. It's worded in such a way that I can play a song up to the chosen opponent's exerted character's cost, not what the character is capable of singing. So for it to be fully in line with singing abilities of opposing characters, it would have to be written differently. Something along the lines of, you may play a song up to the cost of a song that character could sing, or something like that. Still, a very powerful ability, but think twice before using it on singers. Number 4, Powerline, the world's greatest rock star. Another Powerline, and this is a heck of a card with a lot of text. Most of it is pretty straightforward, but there's still some little bit of weirdness, so let's go through some of this piece by piece. Powerline has Shift 4 and Singer 9, which is kind of insane in of itself, but the ability Mashup is what I want to talk about here. That reads, once during your turn, whenever this character sings a song, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a song card with cost 9 or less and play it for free. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So, this is definitely an amalgamation of many similar previous abilities like on Ariel Spectacular Singer or Scrooge Resourceful Miser, getting to look at 4 cards for a specific type and then choosing one. Also a little bit of Oswald Lucky Rabbit, which allows you to play specific card types off the top of your deck for free. It also relates to that previous Ursula Voice Stealer in that the card played with Mashup is played for free, not sung as a song. And that last issue directly relates to something I talked about in a previous video, specifically the card Fantastical and Magical. That is a card with Sing Together 9 that reads, for each character that sang this song, draw a card and gain 1 lore. And just like the previous example in that video with Ursula Deceiver of All, which plays a second song for free and doesn't actually sing the second one, if you happen to reveal Fantastical and Magical off the top of your deck as you go to resolve his ability, it will check how many characters sing that song. Because that number will be 0, you will draw 0 cards and gain 0 lore. Now, maybe you still want to play it anyway, especially if you're pairing him with something like Lilo Causing an Uproar, who can be played free if you play 3 or more actions in a turn, because Powerline's Mashup ability does count as playing the song, even if mechanically he's not technically singing it. And Lilo only cares about playing actions, not necessarily singing songs. And lastly, that also means that the song from Mashup is affected by an opponent's Pete game referee. You cannot play a song for free if their Pete is active, because that still counts as playing an action, even if it's free. So keep these things in mind if you are deciding to reveal a song off of your Powerline trigger. Number 5, 121. I mean, eye to eye. Anyway, this is not just the greatest song in all of Disney history, it also has the opportunity to cause multiple win-loss conditions for multiple players in multiple ways, which I think is pretty cool, but let's look at an extreme example to see how this might be resolved if this ever comes up. Let's say that I am at 19 lore and I have exactly 1 card left in my deck, and my opponent is in the same situation, 19 lore and 1 card left in their deck. It's my turn and I play eye to eye. What happens? Well, here we have to dig into the game state and win-loss conditions section of our rules because a bunch of stuff is happening at the same time. We're both going from 19 to 21, and we are both attempting to draw 2 cards from a deck that only has 1 card in it. What we need is in section 1.9 game state checks. These checks help maintain the state of the game, and specifically, they decide if game-ending or status-changing actions have taken place. Specifically described in 1911, 2, and 3, winning with 20 or more lore, losing by drawing a card in an empty deck, or banishing a character from damage. The game state condition for 1911 and 1912 are both triggered for both players when resolving eye to eye. This moves us to the required action part, which means that the actions for me winning, me losing, the opponent winning, and the opponent losing all need to happen. Thanks to the specificity of 1921, it reads, any required actions generated from a game state check happen in turn order. Okay, cool. So now I only need to worry about my stuff, but I still have a problem that I am winning and losing at the same time. Well, luckily, the second part of that section takes care of that. It reads, if a player would win and lose the game at the same time as a result of a game state check, in this case, resolving eye to eye, then that player wins the game. Neat.
Winning.
So when all is said and done, the short version here is that even though the actions caused by this card trigger win and loss conditions for both players at the same time, because I'm the active player, I deal with all my things first, and because I both win and lose, the win condition wins out. Number 6, the Magic Feather. There is a ton of talk about evasives this set, and the Magic Feather seems like it's going to play a big role there. But we have an all-new kind of effect that we haven't really seen before. It's a static effect, but rather than affecting the whole board as a whole, it requires a specific chosen character, and then only affects that character. On top of that, the effect only applies when the Magic Feather is in play. So it feels very similar to an enchantment aura or artifact equipment for any of my fellow Magic Brain folks out there, and it functions very similarly. Let's read the actual text though. Magic Feather has the ability, Now You Can Fly, which reads, when you play this item, choose a character of yours. While this item is in play, that character gains evasive. There's a second ability, Grounded, that for 3 ink you can return it back to your hand. Now some questions can arise from this, so let's look at a specific example. Let's say I play Magic Feather and I choose a character of mine like a Cusco. It gets evasive, right? Then let's say I return Magic Feather to my hand and play it again, and this time I choose a different character like a Monstro. What happens? Based on how static abilities are described, they are effects that are continuously active as long as the card generating the effect is still in play, as cited in 1614 and given in more detail throughout section 7.6. These definitions help us answer this question. 761 states that static abilities are effects that could alter characteristics of a card, game rule, or game state. These are continuously active for the stated length of time. A static ability that does not specify duration is continuously active as long as the card generating the effect is in play. So, we can already see that Cusco, the first character, would only be evasive while Magic Feather was in play. But if it leaves play and then returns, is Cusco still evasive when I play it for a second time? Or is it just Monstro? Unfortunately, Cusco is no longer evasive. The second playing of the Magic Feather is a new instance of the card. More importantly, this new instance chooses a different character, Monstro. So the text of the card, when referring to that character gaining evasive, that character is the chosen character, Monstro. It has no memory of the first character, Cusco. Sorry, buddy.
Yes!
Lastly, nowhere on the card does it say what happens if the chosen character is banished. So that means the item can still stick around on the board even if my Cusco or Monstro is banished, which is great because I can always reset it by paying the 3, returning it to my hand, and deploying it again. So anyway, keep that in mind. Even though you could return and replay it multiple times in a turn, Magic Feather will only give evasive to whatever character was chosen the most recent time you play it. Number 7, a quick add-on with Dumbo, Ninth Wonder of the Universe. Using our previous example of Magic Feather and Monstro, you can pair Dumbo with that to get a pretty sweet combo. Dumbo is evasive and has 2 related abilities: Breaking Records, which reads, exert and pay an ink to draw a card and gain 1 lore, and Making History, which grants that same ability to all of your evasive characters. So, if you have the Feather and a Monstro and a Dumbo in play, you can effectively loop lore gain for each 1 ink that you have available. Here's how it works. All 3 pieces are in play, the 2 characters and the item. Dumbo has given the ability to exert and pay an ink to draw a card and gain a lore to Monstro. You exert Monstro to draw a card and gain 1 lore. You then use that drawn card to discard and activate Monstro's Full Breach ability, which reads, choose and discard a card to ready this character. He can't quest for the rest of the turn. However, we don't really care about questing because we can continue that process of exerting him, paying 1, and drawing 1 to gain an additional lore. We then discard the card to ready again, and we can repeat that for as much ink as we have available. You will lose the cards as you draw, and they'll be discarded into your discard pile, but if you have enough ink, you could use that to win right on the spot. Since Fabled is a special set that includes lots of older reprinted cards graduated into Core Constructed, I want to take some time to cover some of the, hopefully, quick older rulings or interactions that you may not have seen in a while or just want a quick refresher on. Starting with number 8, a quick distinction with Develop Your Brain. While Diablo Devoted Herald isn't returning, thank goodness, this may be relevant for any other future interactions. Notably what it means to draw a card or not. Cards that care about whether or not a player has drawn a card are actually unaffected by cards like Develop Your Brain, specifically because of the wording. The text here reads, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand and the other on the bottom of your deck. In Develop and many other similar effects, often in Sapphire, you are not actually drawing a card. Drawing a card is a specific action described in 4231, which states, drawing is when a player takes the top card of their deck and puts that card into their hand. A player can draw only from their deck. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will have also seen that last line, putting a card into your hand from any zone besides the deck isn't considered drawing. Develop Your Brain and similar effects, like How Far I'll Go or Grammatala, mean that the cards are sitting somewhere not on the top of your deck, because you are looking at them first. So when they go into your hand, they are put there, not drawn. Another one that came up a lot in the early days had to do with resolving Stitch Rockstar triggers. So number 9, we have Stitch Rockstar. While many veteran Illumineers are well versed in dealing with Stitch's wonkiness, with that particular Stitch also graduating into Core Constructed thanks to Fabled, it seems like a great time to revisit his ability, especially for those who weren't playing much during the first few sets. So, Stitch Rockstar is a 6-cost 3/5 that quests for 3 and shifts for 4. But what makes him unique is the ability Adoring Fans, which reads, whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may exert them to draw a card. This can be used or abused in a lot of ways. One common interaction was originally done using Simba Future King, which has an ability that allows you to draw and then discard a card when he's played. This kind of effect pairs nicely with Stitch Rockstar because you're able to get both effects here as long as you resolve your triggers in the right order. And, as luck would have it, even though Simba Future King will no longer be legal, we have a similar effect in a card that isn't rotating out with Mulan Disguised Soldier. So let's take a look. If I have a Stitch out and I play that Mulan, both of their triggers go into the bag. From there, thanks to our handy old 873, they enter the bag simultaneously, and 874 says I can resolve them in any order I choose. Effectively, that means I can play the Mulan, and then resolve Stitch's ability first to exert and draw, then resolve Mulan's ability to draw and discard, effectively giving me one more extra draw before having to discard. There are also some quirky effects you can do with other cards like LeFou Instigator, especially if you have 2 Stitch Rockstars out. If I play LeFou, 3 triggers enter the bag. one from LeFou, and then one from each of the stitches. If I'm careful about how I resolve them, I can actually draw 2 cards. Here's how. First, I resolve the first stitch trigger to exert LeFou and draw a card. Then I choose to resolve LeFou's Fan the Flames trigger, which allows that to ready himself. He can choose himself. It doesn't say another character. Finally, I can resolve the second stitch trigger to exert LeFou again and draw a second card. The last thing I want to talk about here is that the character entering must be readied in order to exert them to draw a card. Something like Baymax Low Battery enters exerted and cannot then be exerted to draw that card. Also, be mindful that technically if you play a bodyguard character, you may need to clearly announce that you are using Stitch to exert and draw, rather than using the bodyguard ability to allow it to exert itself on its own. Lastly, for number 10, I want to end on the marquee character of the set, Mickey Mouse Brave Little Prince. Mostly because I just love everything about this design. It has this weird wording for an ability crowning achievement though, which effectively turns it into the marquee character of the first chapter, Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor. However, it uses this weirdly specific new wording. Rather than saying if this card was shifted, it says while this card has a card under him, in order to get that +3 strength, +3 willpower, and +3 lore. While this is not yet relevant outside of Shift, official images of upcoming Whispers in the Well product shows a new Simba card that has a new mechanic called Boost. This mechanic reads, boost some number of ink to get the effect. Once during your turn, you may pay that amount of ink to put the top card of your deck face down under this character. Now, while Mickey Brave Little Prince here doesn't have Boost himself, this means that in the future, we may see Boost on an action card like Boost Chosen Character, or another card that gives the Boost ability to a chosen character. So I appreciate this change in wording, giving us the insight into additional ways to put cards under other cards outside of just shifting. Definitely look for more details on this in next rule set video when we go over all of the details from that upcoming set. Well, that is all I have for this rules video. If you have any other weird or cool, new or returning rules interactions, let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you think I got anything wrong, please share that down there as well. If you're new here, please be sure to check out my previous rules videos I did for Reign of Jafar and Arcasia's Island, as well as my weekly League gameplay videos. A like, a comment, and subscribing goes a long way, and I appreciate you sticking around till the end. Know your rules for your next big event, especially with DLCs returning soon. As always, stay questing and stay winning. Hope to see you in DLC Milwaukee. If you enjoyed that, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want more gameplay or breakdown videos, check out the playlist and recommendations here.